see, where are we? Go full screen it. He should be joining us soon, I think. I don't know, unless he forgot. Maybe he'll come in late. Because, anyway, hey everybody. Welcome to Game Central Junction. As always, I am your host, The Metal. And Marsupial said he was going to be here. He's supposed to be here. He will probably be showing up eventually. But it's because of him we moved the show over to today instead of yesterday when it's supposed to be. And now he's driving. So he'll be on location whenever he decides to hop in. But that's just how the cookie's going to crumble. So say hello to Mike and Fizchozo in the chat. Thank you guys for showing up. I hope we have a good show today. I need to put my phone on Do Not Disturb so I don't hear chocobo noises every time I get a notification. There we go. Let's see. Fizchozo says Ardenfall has put out an application. They're looking for people to add to the team. Well, if you have the qualifications, go for it. Means nothing to me. But then again, I don't give a shit about Ardenfall. I guess it's cool that they're still doing something. You know, that they're trying to bounce back after... Was it the studio that was closed like a year ago or whenever that happened? Earlier this year? I don't remember exactly when. But... Hey, you know. Let's see. Is there anything I want to talk about before he gets here? That's the important part. And do I want to remind him? Ardenfall is... Am I thinking of something else? I might be thinking of something else. There's something similar to Ardenfall that got the studio shut down. Like, in name. I'm blanking. Anyway, even as an indie, it's cool to see indies doing well, I guess. That well enough that they're hiring people. Let me see. What was the thing I was thinking of? I was thinking of Arcane. Yes, thank you. That was the thing that got shut down. Now that I'm looking at pictures of Ardenfall, I remember what this is. It's still not something I care about. But, you know, it's indie. I think all indie things should have their chance to survive. So, yeah, you know. Was this made by any, like, former devs of something else? Let me look at Spellcraft Studio. Or are they just trying to, like, get into that Elder Scrolls-like space? Because the game looks very, very Elder Scrolls, but not as good as, like, an old Elder Scrolls game. No, okay, these guys are all new at what they're doing. They're just 3 college students. Well, I wish them the best. I really do. Seems like there is a big demand for the thing they're making. So, that's how I want the gaming ecosystem to work. Yeah. I want people to get what they want. That's how I want the industry to work. So, cheers to them. I think my big problem, because even games like that I was interested in, like I was kind of interested in Wayward Realms for a while, and then I started getting uninterested in it, is even if somebody made that type of game well, I just don't think I want to play a game like that anymore. You know, Elder Scrolls, Fallout, whatever. I had a lot of fun playing them when I was younger, and I wanted to invest that amount of time into a game. But the older I get, even trying to go back and play the games that I really, really liked, like going back and replaying Morrowind, it's not the mechanics that do it to me. I think the game still plays well. I just do not have the level of investment that I want into that type of game anymore. So I can't get interested in them. I was thinking about this like a week ago, because I was even saying like I'd be interested if somebody remade Morrowind in a newer style, but it's like, you know what? No, I wouldn't. I actually wouldn't. I was following Skywind for a while. Even if they finish Skywind, I don't think I'd end up playing it. Realistically speaking, I don't think I would. And I think it's because those games aren't really built for piecemeal investment. You know what I mean? Like, to progress it for maybe like a day or two and then put it down and then come back to it. Because every time I've played a game like that and I've come back to it months later, I have absolutely no idea what I was doing or where I am, and I end up just starting a new file. And then that process just keeps repeating. If I don't have like a week or a month that I just want to dedicate to only playing that game, I'm probably just not playing them. Oh, look, we do in fact have a text from Marsupial. He says, just got here, setting up, so he should be in here shortly. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Yeah, it was like, it's sad too. I really like those type of games. I just cannot enjoy them anymore. I've grown out of the enjoyment of that stuff. And I kind of get why they're falling out of fashion, because the audience that should like those games, which should really be younger people, right? Or people who have all the time in the world to dedicate to a game like that, aren't really buying games like that. So they have to try to reformat those games to fit people who used to like that stuff but can't anymore. And the problem is, the more you try to format the game to fit somebody like me who used to really like that game but won't anymore, the less magic the game has, and I'd rather go and play something else instead. It's like the very thing I want out of those games are also the thing that I just can't enjoy about those games anymore. I want something that I could like pick up for an hour, put down, and then I don't even have to remember what I was doing next time I come back, is the key thing. Like, the game will just remind me, like, this is what you were doing. Like, cool, thank you. I'm going to be back onto the quest I was doing. I think that's probably why I've always kind of liked story-driven games, but as I got older, I started preferring story-driven games as long as they're still mechanically driven. Like, I don't want something like The Last of Us or whatever, where there's, like, nothing to it. Like, I want the mechanics to drive the development of the game, but I want the story to drive my experience in the game, if that makes sense. Right? You look at the quest logs in this game, those quest logs never helped me. Honestly, they didn't. If I put it down for a while and I came back, I'm like, I don't even remember the context of what this thing is trying to tell me. It's not the same as like quest logs in modern games, where like you didn't even have to pay attention to what you were doing in a modern game and you're fine. I could have never known what I was doing, and the game will still let me know what I was supposed to do. If I tried to look at a quest log in Morrowind specifically, I'd be lost if I wasn't like actively playing the game when I looked at it and I knew the context of what it was trying to say. The game is cryptic as fuck. But that's actually some of the stuff I used to like about those games. I just can't enjoy them anymore. It's like I'm trying to find like this weird medium of games where they're not holding my hand because I really don't want my hand held, but also to where like I don't have to dedicate my entire life to playing the game. It's a very hard medium to find. There used to be a lot more of those games, especially on like the PlayStation 2 era. Those used to be very, very common. Even in the PlayStation 3 era, they used to be very common. But now it's either like, we want to completely hold your hand because the casual gamer wants their hand held. Or we want to just give you the most nostalgic hardcore experience possible. There's not a lot of stuff for what I guess you would call like the median player. The person who still enjoys how games used to be, but that just doesn't want to dedicate all their time to it. This is the player that just gets left in the dump. So I end up playing stuff that's slightly more on the casual end than the other one, just because like it's the closest fit, but it's still not really, it's not a really good shoe size, you know? Like, it's probably what my brother used to go through trying to get shoes growing up, where he has wide, flat feet. So even if you got the right, like, size, shoe sizes are built on how long your foot is. And even if it says, like, wide, it's hard to find, like, a wide shoe that actually fit him. I feel like my brother, where sometimes you end up going for a size too big, just because his wide feet fit in it better. And there'd be extra space. That's how I feel with gaming. I think that's part of, like, why I really enjoyed both Mario Odyssey and Breath of the Wild. Because Breath of the Wild is a game that I've probably burnt myself out on. I couldn't go back to it. But it's not because I don't enjoy the game. I just played through it too many times already that I just don't ever want to touch that game again. Probably for the rest of my life. I'm good. I've gotten all the Breath of the Wild I ever need to play. It's not even my favorite Zelda. I just really enjoyed it. Actually, even better, I enjoyed Echoes of Wisdom a lot more. But Mario Odyssey, where it's like they gave you goals, like very quick, short goals that you could just pick up and put down. But also, they didn't really hold your hand about it either. The only problem is, like, maybe the difficulty level for a lot of the stuff wasn't quite where I want it to be. But they did solve that by adding, like, Master Quest and the Heroes Challenge in Breath of the Wild. And there are, like, a few, like, really tight platforming things that are completely optional in Odyssey. So the stuff is there. I want more people to take that mentality of game making from Nintendo. Because I like Nintendo, but they're not even necessarily making games as good as they used to. To where I feel like if people picked up Nintendo's mentality of making games, they could probably make much better games than Nintendo. It's also why I'm a little interested in that Astrobot game. I just haven't gotten around to playing it. Because Astrobot seems to also kind of have that sort of middle ground type of investment level that I'm looking for. How do I feel about RimWorld? I don't have a feeling about it. I haven't really jumped into RimWorld to have a feeling about it. So neither positive or negative. I'm open. I'm open to having a feeling about it. I'm familiar-ish with it. As like as a story, but I've never actually played, or I guess it's not really a story, but like I've kind of seen some people play it, right? Because it's got that top-down sort of gameplay with the houses, and there's a lot of, like, adding structures onto each other. Construction management. But I've only maybe seen 20 minutes of gameplay tops of it. That's the most I know about the game. Apparently, they added Final Fantasy VII bots to the new Astrobot update, Joshua says. It's kind of cool. I would ask which one. Obviously, it's supposed to be for the remake series. But then I'm thinking it doesn't matter because if they're scaled down to be like the Astrobots, you wouldn't be able to tell which version they are except maybe if you saw the liners for Tifa's outfit. That's like the only way you would know. None that matters. I actually don't have a problem with Tifa's new outfit. I know a lot of people did. I guess there's like I have more problems with Tifa's new proportions than I had with her outfit itself. But I think it's ultimately fine. And I think even people exaggerate on that because she's wearing sportswear now. Of course, they're going to make her boobs look smaller. Like that would happen no matter what. You know, that's how compression wear works. I just kind of like Tifa's old outfit. The new one's fine, though. I get why they did it. Partially, it's probably the censorship. I don't think that's not there. But I think more than anything is when you look at the design, when you start going to more realistic colors, Tifa's skin tone and her white shirt are just too close to each other compared to, like, the old version of it. You need something to break that up. Could they have done something better to break it up? Absolutely. I could come up with, like, 10 or 20 different ideas for that, but you need something. Also, Marsupial's here in the audience. Just waiting for him to hop on. Let's see, Joshua says, to be honest, I have no idea what people are talking about when they say her outfit is censored. It's just because, like, she wasn't wearing anything under her shirt before, and now she is. That's what people are hung up about. I don't think it's the biggest deal in the world. Really? My problems with Final Fantasy VII Remake series are with the gameplay itself and not well, a couple of the story things, but not really much of the character designs. I think for the most part, the characters look like the characters.
Hey there.
Hey, how you doing?
Sorry, the drive took a little longer than I thought.
Yeah. Doesn't it always? Like, you think it's going to take 45 minutes, and then it's like over an hour and you're there.
Oh. Yeah. But I'm here.
Yeah.
We're talking about Final Fantasy VII Remake?
That only just came up because I was talking about Astrobot, and then Joshua pointed out that they added the Final Fantasy VII bots to it in the recent update.
Oh, I see.
And really, I wasn't talking about anything in particular. I was just kind of vamping and talking about how it's hard to find a game I'm actually interested in these days. And it's not because I think the game isn't interesting. It's because of what I want out of the game. And you could probably relate to this too, where after a certain point of having, like, heavily investing yourself into a game or a world or whatever when you're younger, you're just like, I want, even if I'm going to be in this game for a while, I want like a middle experience. I want something where I could pick it up for anywhere between half an hour to maybe 3 hours tops at a time and put it down, and I'm not going to be confused when I eventually decide to pick it back up again.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, how are you?
Just fine and dandy. I've just been driving.
Driving.
Had a very long week. Yeah. So, yep. Just been busy at work.
Yeah. Let me make sure. Everybody here, Marsupial, all right? You look like you could be heard fine when I'm looking at the, what's it called? The equalizer on OBS.
Yeah.
But then you just sound like muted to me, even with my volume up. I don't know what it is. It might just be me because you, like I said, it looks fine.
Yeah. I don't know.
Okay. Well, we'll just go on. We could talk about Final Fantasy. I do have a couple things up about that. I got a lot of tabs up just because I really had no idea what direction we're going to go in today, honestly. But since it was brought up, I guess we could start with it. It seems these days that literally everyone except for Square wants them to make a turn-based Final Fantasy game. And I don't actually mean that. I'm using hyperbole there. There are definitely a lot of people who enjoy the remake series that never enjoyed the turn-based series. We know that there is a very contingent group of people that just have like a disgust towards turn-based games. I think they're insane, but you know, that is what it is. In the wake of things like Clair Obscur Expedition 33 and a few other things, the actual publishing director for Baldur's Gate 3 came out and said that if Final Fantasy made a turn-based game, they could easily sell over 10 million copies, which would be more than any recent Final Fantasy or like Square title has sold. Right?
Yeah.
And it kind of makes you wonder why they don't do that. Because at the same time, I have another interview where the current producer for Final Fantasy, which we all know is Yoshi P. He did 14 and 16. This says that he's not sure when or even if a main series Final Fantasy game will return to turn-based combat. And this is a very recent quote from him, even after everything that's happened, because it's not really up to him. Ultimately, it's up to like the board and the people that fund him as to whether he gets to make a turn-based game or not. And it's like this really weird contention where Square itself doesn't want to make a turn-based Final Fantasy game. But all of their competitors are like, dude, you should totally make a turn-based Final Fantasy game.
Yeah, right. Well, I keep seeing like videos of people keep making about them supposedly doing it, but I don't know if it's all just rumor or hopes
at this
and
point, it's all
dreams.
hearsay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like a lot of where people are getting from is like that quote from that Baldur's Gate 3 publisher, right? Or the producer or whatever. And it's like a lot of people in the industry are saying that they should do it. But Square itself is not saying they should do it.
Right.
Fitzjones even says Clair Obscur is basically a Final Fantasy game. I mean, it depends on what your view of a Final Fantasy game is. As like a longtime player of the series, I could get pretty nitpicky in all the ways that Clair Obscur isn't even close to a Final Fantasy game. But it was clearly a big inspiration on them. You know?
Yeah.
Including how they use their elemental system. Final Fantasy was definitely a huge inspiration on that. But I think the bigger thing is one of the big excuses that they kept giving about why there isn't a modern turn-based like main Final Fantasy game is because turn-based combat would not work with their high-fidelity graphic style, which Clair Obscur actually just definitively disproves.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they say all these things without really explaining, like, just make it up.
Yeah, it's like, what do you mean by that? Like, give me at least some actual line of reasoning as to why it wouldn't work with your style or whatever your other excuse is. Yeah, Baldur's Gate also has turn-based combat. There's tons of them out there. Yakuza, Like a Dragon. It's a slightly more cartoony, but it's about as high fidelity as Advent Children was, right? And that was turn-based. Probably the most successful Yakuza game up to the point that game came out. And they're just crazy. They won't do it. Even if like Yoshi P over here trying to actually explain to the fans, because he understands that they want. It's like, I don't know if and when it'll happen. It's like, what do you mean you don't know? Aren't you the guy in charge of this? No, clearly there are people above him that don't want it happening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't understand. Like, do they not want money, or are they just so convinced that there's absolutely nothing that will sway them if they're wrong?
Honestly, I don't know. The weird part is, like, I could grasp at reasons why. Some of them justifiable, right? But then when I start trying to grasp at reasons, it starts to fall apart at the same time, right? Like, one of the things I know about, say, Japan, is that Japan, new generations tend to not like old things, right? They're not like over here where you might even find a fad where people go into old things swing back around. That's not usually how things work in Japan. People tend to like newer things. It's also why you see like a lot of 3D animation and stuff, or why they don't try to color anime to look like older anime or whatever, because the Japanese just don't like it. It looks old, it's dated. They want new things. But then that falls apart when you think about that, because Square themselves even said that they were focusing on the international like audience, which tends to be the audience asking for turn-based games from them.
Well, I mean, like you said, like if Expedition 33 doesn't convince them,
I don't know what will.
Yeah. Like, it's a brand new game, and it's like worthy of Game of the Year, and it's turn-based.
Yeah,
Sorry.
What's going to convince you? Filing for some form of bankruptcy?
Yeah. I don't get it.
I don't think anyone does.
I mean, not to mention Hawkeye Star Rail, right?
Yeah. That which is super popular.
Mm-hmm. And Baldur's Gate 3.
In fact, I before things like Claire came up, it was my brother kept going on as like, Star Rail better be teaching Square a lesson, and he kept saying that over and over and over again for like a year or two. Like, yeah, maybe something needs to be teaching them a lesson.
Yeah. Well, how did Dragon Quest 11 go? I know it's kind of old, but
I think it did like normal Dragon Quest numbers, which again means it was just more popular in Japan than anywhere else. Which is another one of like, how can you justify this? Clearly, the Japanese like turn-based games. They still buy Dragon Quest.
Yeah, it makes me a little worried about 12 if that ever comes out.
Yeah, 11 did 8.5 million worldwide. It's like not the greatest thing ever, but that's actually good for a Dragon Quest game, since most of their sales are in Japan itself.
Looks like Final Fantasy 16 has sold under 4 million.
Yep. And most of that was because it was restricted to the PlayStation.
Is it still though?
I don't know, but a lot of their stuff after it got off has not been seeing a huge boost. Unlike how Stellar Blade got a huge boost when it got off of it, but people were waiting for that. Yeah. I don't know if they're waiting for the lesser Final Fantasy stuff to get off of PlayStation.
Yeah, well, Final Fantasy 16 came out on the PC in September of last year.
Yeah.
And since then, they've sold less than 500,000. So
yeah, and I didn't see 16 specifically, but I did see them complaining recently that 7 remake series did not get a substantial amount of sales when it got off of PlayStation.
Yeah. I mean, apparently they sold 3 million copies of Final Fantasy 16 in the first week, and that was it. They've basically not sold any more on the PlayStation since the first week. maybe 200,000 more.
Yeah, and that's a big thing that why other companies suffer when they don't hit it big, right? Because we know outside of, like, say, Nintendo and maybe a few other exceptions you can usually name, most of your sales are going to be within the launch window of the game. Everyone knows that. And part of that is because they're making a product, which is not a problem. Even Shigeru Miyamoto had always seen what he was working on as a product. But they're making a product to be purchased and maybe quickly consumed, and not a product to be enjoyed, right?
Yeah.
Like, Nintendo games hold their value. Nintendo will more than trickle sales throughout the lifetime of a game. There's a bunch of other things too. Like, Stardew Valley is another example of a game that just continuously gets sales throughout its entire lifetime. Most games just don't have that.
Yeah, what's crazy is that you can look on the eShop for the top 10 games that were sold in the last, I think, 10 days. And I'm constantly amazed at the ones that are always on that list.
Yeah.
And Stardew Valley is one of them. But, like, Fantasy Life has been on there since it's been released. It's just been continuously selling and selling and selling and selling. It's amazing.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, you look at a Square game. This is, like, I think my first realization that Square was not making games for people to have fun playing them anymore, right? Except maybe 14.
Yeah.
14, for a while, they were actually invested in continuing people to have fun playing, which, as a live service game and an MMO, you kind of have to, or else people will drop your game and you stop making money off of it. But with their other stuff, I remember being in Walmart. This must have been... It was before the PS5 came out. This might have been mid to late PS4 era. And I saw, like, 4 Square games, one of them that wasn't even 6 months old yet, all sitting on the shelf, dropped down to $20 each. They're all recent for the system, right? If it was, like, even any other publisher, those games probably would have still been higher. But it's like, no, it's like Final Fantasy 12, the Zodiac Age, was still fairly new at that time, that report. That was $60. It was premium price when it came out. Like 6 months later, it was already $20 sitting on the Walmart shelf.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't get that. Fitzjoseph says the entire AAA industry isn't interested in making games that are fun to play anymore. So what I mean is it just, are they making games? I mean, I tend to agree.
Yeah, they're making games to be sold, not to be enjoyed
for their investors. Yeah.
I don't even think it needs to be flashy for their investors, right? They're selling games to make a trailer. They're hoping, like, the trailer and the review from people who get paid to review it sell the game. And then they don't really care what happens to the game after that, right? Some of them, maybe they'll try, like, the live service route, because people just saw how much money you were making from the live service, has been a blunder for every single, like, AAA developer to get into it, with very few exception. Like, the original Overwatch obviously did fine with Blizzard. But most of it's a blunder because most of them don't actually have the interest in supporting the game properly. Because they don't want to make a fun game. They just want to make a product to be sold.
Mm-hmm. I guess so. Weird.
Yeah.
But they don't seem to be selling, so I don't know.
Yeah. That's why you have to... I think Clair Obscur is the perfect example of the problem with the AAA industry. Because Clair Obscur is a product it's got an artistic vision, but you can be both at the same time. It is being made with the idea of like, I want to make a fun product because people will buy a fun product. Here is this really good fun product that there seems to be a hole in the industry for. Ubisoft, we don't want to make it. Guy leaves, starts a smaller studio with 33 people, or I guess 32 other people besides himself. Makes product, sells millions. Is it the highest seller in the market? No, right? If you're actually at Ubisoft, the sales would not be what they require. But they spent so little money making it that proportionally they did way better than any Ubisoft game did in the last decade.
Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah. So I think we're just going to need to see more of that, which maybe that is the beginning of the prediction that I made like a few years ago, that we're going to be seeing like a fracturing of the AAA industry. We're going to start seeing things like crumble apart. We're going to see some of these bigger studios either become complete shells of themselves or shut down altogether. And a bunch of the people who actually have plans and ideas from the studios are just going to break off and start their own stuff. Clair Obscur might actually be the start of that.
Yeah, well, it also proves you don't need 1,000 developers to make a game like that.
Yeah. All you need is a good idea, some talent, and to be able to convince some investors. It's like, listen, it's going to be a lot of money, but it's nowhere near as much money as like these AAA guys need, and we can put like the same quality out. Your ROI will actually be pretty big if we can sell this game.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. Fish Joseph had asked before when we were talking about turn-based, did anyone or anybody have a problem with XCOM 2? Yeah, a lot of people did. It's a very polarizing game because it wasn't a very good follow-up to XCOM 1. So there was a lot of people liked it, a lot of people didn't. A lot of people were looking for other alternatives than 2. So, yeah.
I never played XCOM. Wow, Borderlands 3 is 90% off on PS5.
That's not unusual. Well, a PS5, that's maybe a little more unusual. Though it's getting old at this point, right? When I picked it up on Steam, when I finally bought it, I got it for like $5 or something. It was like extremely cheap. I think I picked like the main game up for like $5 to $10, and then I picked up all the DLC for like an additional $5 to $10. I spent like a fraction of what the game cost.
Yeah.
Because that was the most I was going to spend on the game.
Mm-hmm. Oblivion Remastered is 20% off, $40. I don't know.
I do have other things. Let me see if I can pull them up. What's good? What's good? We got the game release schedule for the rest of the year. If we want to kind of go over some things, because there's
I've just
some stuff that's been
waiting
added.
around. Yeah, I know the Donkey Kong game is coming out soon. In a week.
Yeah, like 6 days from now. So let's see, where are we? We're in July. Let me scroll down to July. We are on the 11th. So today, actually, really cool thing, if you've never played the Patapon series, Patapon 1+2 Replay released just today, as well as Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3+4. So a bunch of reports, re-releases, remasters came out today. A lot of people were waiting for Tony Hawk's. And let's see what kind of stuff are still on the horizon. Anything cool? Or do I even recognize for this month? Let's see. 14th, we got Blacksmith Ignite the Forge. Never heard of it. Eden Zero, Red Pistol, Truer Than You, Ink Reverie. I think a lot of these are smaller indie games. A lot of them will probably never be interested in, but as I was saying at the start of the show, I don't really care if I'm interested in an indie game. I do like to see indie games be successful as long as it's natural, right? If you have an audience who want the game, I want that audience to get games they want. So, keep it up, indie devs. Guacho in the Grassland. Medievally Battle Simulator. I know that one. I've seen some previews for that. I'm not really into those battle simulator games, though. Apparently, a lot of people do. A lot of people want games where they just don't play them. Where they just like... this is not the one I'm thinking of. Because I think there was one of a similar name where you had like peasant armies and you're having them fight each other. Let me look at this one. I don't want to get it wrong. Yeah, this is the one with the armies that fight each other. Like, a lot of people just want to, like, put inputs in and then watch it go. And I guess that's fine if that's what you're into. I wouldn't really call that playing a game, though, you know? Unless there's, like, a campaign. Yeah. When it comes to watching things go, I think very recently, Uma Musume is probably the bare minimum of making something a game, because at least that management phase gives you something to do. Or if there's a strategy phase, like if you were playing a football game and you at least had to come up with like where the X's and O's are going to go and then you watched it go, then I would still consider that playing a game. If it's got that phase, then perfectly fine. Let's see, I offered you the crown. Donkey Kong Bonanza, as we talked about. Golden Tee Arcade Classics is coming out. What's in that?
Golden Tee? Is that golf?
That sounds like it. It's spelled T-E-E, like a golf tee.
Oh, yeah.
It's like a golf... I've played a golf arcade game. Yes! Okay. I know this one. That's kind of cool, but like, I'd rather just get like one of those arcade 1-up ones, because I don't want to play that game without the ball. Like, you gotta play this on the Switch without the rotating ball?
Yeah.
It's just not the same. Drifter. Oh, Wandering Village! I remember that one. We talked about that early on. Like a year ago or whatever. It's finally coming out July 17th. You remember that one, right?
Yeah. No, Wandering Village?
Yeah, it's the one where it's like it's a town management / action game where it's like on the back of that giant thing. We covered it during like one of those indie showcases. I don't remember. It was either earlier this year or late last year.
Yeah, I'm looking at it. It's on Steam. Man, it's taking a while to come up.
Yeah.
I don't remember this at all. Are you sure I was on that episode?
Yes, I'm absolutely positive you were there.
It's I mean, you can get that early access right now.
Yeah. But apparently it is finally dropping on the 17th. Shadow Labyrinth is also dropping. Is that the Pac-Man game?
Yes.
Okay.
That is it.
Or the not Pac-Man game. We also have Defiance, Logic Bombs, The King is Watching, Cypher Zero. Hey, here's one for you. Monument Valley 3 is officially releasing on the 22nd.
Yeah, that's I've had that through, was it Netflix?
I think it was through Netflix, yeah.
Yeah, it's been available.
But the full official release on PS5, PS4, Xbox Series X and S, Switch, and PC will be on the 22nd.
Oh, that's cool. Wow, I can't imagine on. Well, I guess I can on Switch because it's really best on a touch screen.
Yeah.
I mean, you're kind of you tap where you want the person to go.
Yeah, they'll probably have a lot of times they'll just give you like a cursor you could control with the joystick.
Yeah.
But for the Switch, it'd be fine because if you have it undocked, you can use the touchscreen.
Right.
And it says for the Switch 1, I don't know if it'll have additional support for the Switch 2 specifically to where you'd be able to use the mouse or not. But, I mean, you just play it the same way you would on the Switch.
Yeah.
Killing Floor 3 is coming out on the 24th. That's pretty cool. We're getting the Mario Party Jamboree plus Jamboree TV version for Switch 2 on the 24th as well. Let's see. I think that's it for July. Anything that might be interesting. Bunch of other stuff I haven't heard. Relic Bound, Day of the Shell. Oh, wait, nope. 31st, Ninja Gaiden Ragebound is coming out, which is the one I was actually interested in. And I think it was the one you were interested in, too. Okay. I guess we'll just skip right past Ninja Gaiden Ragebound. But anyway, it's coming out on the 31st. In August, get Mafia: The Old Country. Does it have anything to do with the Mafia series? Like, is this like a prequel? Or maybe even like it could be a sequel that's just going back to the old country.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, it is part of the same franchise. I liked Mafia. I thought Mafia 1 and 2 specifically were pretty good. I wasn't as much into 3, but I think 3 is still probably a solid game. Just remembering it. So that's one I'd probably be interested. Mafia had a lot of like pick up, put down missions in it.
Mm-hmm.
There's a House of the Dead 2 remake coming out in August. Gradius Origins is coming out. Actually, August looks pretty good.
No, that's
if you like old things.
And that's just
It's like a port
re-release
collection.
Old game. Yeah.
Yeah. It's upscaled, and there's like other modes and features and versions that you previously could only get internationally. For somebody who really likes Gradius, it's a cool thing. If not, it's like you pass it.
Yeah.
Apparently, Madden 26, 2026 is coming out because you always have to put the next Madden out before the year actually happens.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Like, I guess it's a business model that works. They don't have to change it. They don't have to break it. They make their money. I would have imagined years ago that Madden should have just became a live service game. Of all of these games, it should have just become like a live service game or one where you just don't have to sell the game over and over again. It should have been these sports games where every maybe new engine or new system, you just put out that version of the game, and then you sell people like team packs over and over again. And then you don't have to redevelop the game. You just make new team packs and content for people, and you make probably more profit that way than spending time developing the game again. But, it's a model that works for them.
Yep.
Let's see. Some of these have names that look familiar to me, but I don't know if I've actually ever heard of it, or if it's just because it uses common words, so my brain is putting something together, right? Like Sword of the Sea. That sounds like it should be a game I've heard of, but it's also just a bunch of like common words.
Yeah. Know what that's about.
I have no clue. but we do have Gears of War Reloaded is coming out. So for Gears of War fans, that's going to be pretty cool. We have Kirby and the Forgotten Lands upgrade with the Star-Crossed World is coming out on the 27th of August. And Lost Soul Aside. Lost Soul Aside was one of the games that was in the PlayStation Showcase that I thought actually looked good. It was that very Devil May Cry kind of combat-esque game that looked fun. So I'll probably keep a lookout on that one.
It's funny, on Mondays, we're looking through the anime news, and there's always seems to be news about video games. And now when I look at anime news, all of it is news about anime.
That's why I always go back a full week every time I look for stuff. Because, like, okay, let me see if I remember some of the things I might have saw when I was looking for stuff when we're talking about shows and everything. And then I have plenty to talk about when we have a whole week to catch up.
Yeah.
Let's see. September, we have Everybody's Golf Hot Shots is coming out. Everybody's Golf is a very popular series, so I expect that to do pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
If you've always wanted to know what it's like to fight fire, there is a firefighting simulator, Ignite, that is coming out. We can ignore Borderlands 4. I expect that to probably do well enough, maybe, but I expect it to proportionately do the worst out of any game in the series. Personally.
Yeah, it doesn't. It looks like they're kind of going down.
They're burning off whatever credit they've had with their fans.
Yeah.
Garfield Kart 2, All You Can Grift. I didn't know they were making a sequel to Garfield Kart, to be honest. Have you seen Garfield Kart? It's very cheesy. Old game. It's kind of like similar to from what I've seen, Mario Kart like Super Circuit or whatever. It's like an old school kart racer.
Mm-hmm.
Horrible controls, but I think people love it because of the horrible controls.
Okay.
And Sonic Racing Cross Worlds also comes out in September. The game that's going to have to try its damnedest to compete with Mario Kart World. I think it's got a good idea, at least, with trying to bring in all of these Sega characters, kind of turning it back into Sonic All-Stars Racing Transformed. I just don't know if the model's going to work. They're still competing against Mario Kart World, which, as like the type of Nintendo game it is, its launch window is basically the entire year that it came out until the next year, same date. And then it's still going to continue picking up sales after that. I don't know why you would want to release a Sonic Racer within a year span of Mario Kart. That just does not seem like... And be more expensive than your last Sonic Racer. I think it's still technically cheaper than Mario Kart, but is it cheap enough to matter? You know? It's going to be like a $10 difference or something.
Mm-hmm.
Silent Hill F is coming out in September. And the Final Fantasy Tactics Ivalice Chronicles, which is another remaster. That,
Oh, yeah.
I have mixed feelings about it, but I'm ultimately positive because it's not very easy to play older versions of Final Fantasy Tactics, and the original version will be in there. So it's cool that it exists for preservation's sake.
Yeah, and like, you can play the original one. So if people don't like the changes that they made, because they did, I don't remember exactly what it was, but I remember that they did censor some of the, basically change some of the dialogue.
As far as I'm aware, though, none of the changes are stuff that wasn't already changed by War of the
Lions. Maybe. I feel like there was some stuff that
Yeah.
people pointed out, but I could be wrong.
My biggest complaint is that they're giving us the script from War of the Lions, but none of like the bonus content that was added in War of the Lions. It's the same thing I've been complaining about, like the Final Fantasy Pixel remasters and stuff. It's like, why are we getting these new versions of old Final Fantasy games to make them look all continuous to each other? But you're also not giving us like the bonus dungeons, the after story game bosses and everything, the super weapons that you can go out of your way to get. Like, why are you giving us all of this and not the actual cool stuff that's been added over the years?
Yeah. Don't know.
Honestly,
I kind of expected them to add stuff to those Pixel remasters, but they never did.
no, and I don't think they ever will. So to me, while there is some cool stuff in previous things, I think August so far looked the best. I think October is looking like the best month for stuff that's already announced. So we've got, where is it? Ghost of Yotai, I'm not interested in. It's even losing some of the Ghost of Tsushima fans, but I still think that it's going to do very well. So a lot of people are going to be excited for that. But then we start getting into the stuff where we're personally involved. Digimon Story Time Stranger, for me, that's coming out October 3rd. I'm excited for that one. Even if I'm not going to play it for a long time, I'll go watch people play it and still enjoy it. Immediately after that, sort of October 10th, Little Nightmares 3 is coming out, which I know you're pretty excited to continue on, seeing what's happening there. Figuring out, like, how does this world even work? Pokemon Legends ZA is coming out. It's not, as far as Pokemon things, it's not the thing I'm the most excited for, but it does look more appealing to me than the last Pokemon Legends does, at least marginally. I still haven't been totally sold on it, but I'm open. I'm more open to being sold on it than I was the previous 2 or 3 Pokemon games that came out.
Yeah.
Then we have Keepers coming out. Ninja Gaiden 4 is finally coming out in October 21st.
Yeah.
So that's fun.
Which, of course, is, it's really Ninja Gaiden fake
Whatever.
Ninja Gaiden 4.
Yeah.
Or Ninja Gaiden 7, since I skipped the first 3 or don't count them anymore for some reason.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of, I think, more of a follow-up to the Ninja Gaiden Black series than anything, but it's Ninja Gaiden 4. Then we have Double Dragon Revive is coming out too, which is really hype. I'm hyped for Double Dragon Revive.
Yeah.
People who like The Outer Worlds, number 2 is coming out on the 29th in October. It's not something I'm interested in, but apparently a lot of people like it. And that's kind of it. Like, there's 2 announcements in November. So far, nothing's looking good. Nothing confirmed for December. And then there's a bunch of things that are supposed to come out this year, but we haven't actually gotten an announcement for when it's supposed to come out. So they could be next year or the year after, for all we know.
Right.
Yeah. And maybe things will change within a month or 2, right? Usually around September is when we get like the definitive timeline of everything that will come out to the actual end of the year. Because you have to prepare for the holiday season. People need to be able to start getting their layaway down.
Yeah. Well, when is freaking Metroid Prime 4 coming out?
Didn't they say it was next year?
I thought it was this year.
I don't know. It's on the list of to be announced, so it could be anywhere between this year or next year. I wouldn't be surprised if they
everywhere seems
snuck
to
that
say,
in for a holiday season game.
you know, well, like Wikipedia says like it'll be this year, but I guess Nintendo doesn't say that necessarily. Well, no, it
Yeah.
says it does. Okay, on the Nintendo website, releases 2025.
So probably a holiday season game. If it's still coming out
Sometime.
this year, it's probably a holiday season game. I also see just underneath it, Mugenics is still supposed to come out this year, which is Edmund McMillan's game that he's been working on for like, I don't know how long now, like 8 to 10 years in the background. And he has to keep putting it aside because they keep updating the Binding of Isaac and stuff. There's one of those cases where it's like the dev keeps working on one of his older games, so he just never gets anything done with the newer one. But Mugenics is supposed to finally be coming out this year, so I expect to see it probably by next Easter. But that's still more realistic timeline than it's had for a decade now.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you might be interested. Moonlighter 2 is supposed to come out this year.
Oh, yeah.
You played
I
Moonlighter.
haven't played in a while. Yeah. And I barely remember what it's like. Oh, yeah. You go, it's a roguelike, right?
Yeah.
You go into this dungeon and see how far you can get. And then
This is one where you like run the
start
shop.
over. Right. Yes. It's a roguelike, but you don't die. You basically go as far as you can until you can basically you're forced to teleport back.
Yeah.
And keep going farther and farther. Then I should get back to that. Got it. On PlayStation.
Yeah.
When are they coming out with Wizardry 2?
Oh, like a remake of that one?
Yeah.
Maybe sooner than you think, especially with Wizardry Variant Daphne doing pretty well. Actually getting some people back into the franchise. Some people who never were in the franchise getting to it. Yeah, we might actually see like a Wizardry 2 remake sooner or later.
Mm-hmm.
The other one I was watching was the Mouse PI for Hire, the one that I showed you, where it's like the whole game looks like an old. It's a first-person shooter, but it looks like an old Rubber Hose cartoon, right? Where everything's like flattened and stuff. That's supposed to come out this year.
Yep.
I don't think too many things. No, I don't think that's what I'm thinking of. I thought I saw something that I recognized, and then it's like, no, it's just a similar name.
Yeah. Apparently, I guess the original family of the original creator of Wizardry still owns the rights to Wizardry 1 through 5, and then 6 onward got sold at some point.
Okay. Well, they remade the original, so apparently, like, the family's down with remakes.
Yeah.
They probably just have to be done on the right condition. Like, you have to be kind of faithful to the original. You can make it look nicer, but you can't do anything crazy to it.
Yeah. Well, they must have licensed it to Digital Eclipse to redo it. So, working on the second one. I wouldn't think it would take that long, especially after they've already built a new engine for it, presumably, that they could reuse. But I guess we shall see.
Yeah. You wanna see some crazy stuff? So,
Horse.
It's a horse, of course. So Uma Musume, Pretty Derby, has actually been rising up the Steam charts for player count. On the 9th, which is the last time I see any data for it, But I'm also looking at an old article. We could pull up Steam and look what the current stuff is. But as of the 9th, it peaked over 50,000 simultaneous players on Steam. Which, mind you, this is a game that most people play on their phone, so it's pretty impressive to have 50,000 simultaneous players on Steam. And is now squarely in the top 50 most played games in competition with things like Elden Ring and Warframe.
I'm trying to find. Okay, so it's still not. It's so crazy. I can't even believe it. In the top 10, well, I think it's top 10. Most played games right now.
Yeah.
Stardew Valley has 81,000 concurrent players playing.
Almost always.
Right now.
Yeah.
I'm like, of course, Banana beats it, but has 90,000. But still. I just can't even believe that.
You can't believe that people are playing one of the most popular games that has an infinite lifespan.
I guess it's just like that dude must be a billionaire by now. No wonder he just releases free updates. Like, why he doesn't need to charge anything. Crazy. Of course, it does have a 97.66% positive review rate.
And you see that he said that Haunted Chocolatier was going to be much bigger in scope than Stardew Valley was. So,
is he doing that all by himself too?
I'm not sure. I maybe he's got help. He's talked about this a few times. I just can't remember. But he has stated the map is going to be much bigger than the entirety of the Stardew Valley map.
I hope so.
Yeah.
So yeah, the all-time peak of Ume Musume was 2 days ago. 50,725. It just keeps going up.
Yep. Going up and up and up.
It's amazing.
To the point that Ume Musume has actually had to put guidelines out for fans who want to visit the real racehorses.
Really?
Yeah, and I think I talked about this before with specifically Haru Urara, because she doesn't live in a stable on a big property or anything. She lives in a farm, and there are a couple other retired horses with her. But they're not all race horses. I think one of them is her brother or a relative of hers. That was a retired police horse. So it's not even everybody in her small retirement farm were race horses. It's an actual farm, so you have to book in advance to be able to go there. Things get booked very quickly too. But a lot of people are I want to visit these. I want to visit these horses in real life since they're all based on real life horses. And one of the big problems, you have to make it to Japan in the first place. That's a big hurdle you have to get to.
I just assumed this was almost all Japanese fans.
No, there are foreign fans from all over who want to go and visit. So it's you have to first, because the way a lot of these places work in Japan is that you can't book more than a month in advance because they don't even start bookings for next month until that month. So it's you have to get to Japan in the same time that you're booking your reservation, and you have to hope, maybe book your reservation first, hope that everything didn't get booked already by the time you go to make your reservation. But there are some other cool things that people are doing for it. So there is a kind of a feeder program for retired horses where you can donate money and they will give them this high quality grass will just be shipped fresh, cool in a refrigerated truck to the horse. And apparently people have kind of been going crazy donating grass to Haru Urura specifically. But that's fine. Like I said, she's got a brother who's a police horse, and there's a couple other retired horses. She doesn't eat it all. Other horses that also deserve it are going to eat it too. That's not going to go to waste. But I found out recently, because that horse has a crazy story. where during her career she had 0 wins and 113 losses. Apparently, back in 2019, which is 14 years after her last professional race in 2005, which makes her a pretty old horse at this point, right? She was put into this race that's just for retired horses. It's basically like a race for fun where they kind of like just let these old horses run against each other, get them some exercise, attracts the fans. And she actually won her first race ever against other retired horses. So she, after all of those years of running and never giving up, she did eventually get a single win just after her professional career.
Hey, I'm looking at it on Steam.
Yeah.
And Nerd Wonder apparently completed a career playthrough for 30 trainees.
Oh, nice. Yeah, because you could see people's like
Only
achievements
8
and stuff
months.
on there.
Yeah, I don't see that achievement on you here.
Because I don't even have 30 trainees yet.
Yeah. And raised bond levels 30 times and collected 40 trophies.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah, I've
But she's
not
not
been
played
going.
nearly as-
No, she's definitely playing way more than I am. Trust me.
It says, played recently. Okay, so
Yeah.
she played 8 hours recently.
And then you have to think too. You can, you have to do like a code thing to sync it, but you can also sync your account between your Steam and your phone.
Okay.
Right? I have not done that many
doesn't
career
count towards your,
playthroughs yet.
yeah, doesn't count towards your hours, or?
No, your phone, it wouldn't count your hours for your phone. You'd still get the achievements because when you log in on Steam, it would pick up on all the achievements that are on your account, but your play hours on your phone don't get onto Steam.
She must be playing on her phone.
Yeah. In fact, I probably also have more play hours on my phone than I do on Steam, but I just have not done that many career playthroughs. I've barely even. I got past a single chapter of the story, which I need to play more of that. But it's just like I said before, the story's so good. It's like watching an anime that I don't want to like mash through it. I actually want to like sit down and pay attention to the story while I'm playing it.
Yeah. It's funny because I only have 2 friends on Steam who play this game.
One of the
You and
reasons
Nerd
it
Wonder.
popped off so much is, everybody's streaming it. I don't know if you've noticed that, but like
Yeah.
every single person streaming it. But you also have people like, even before Asmongold talked about it, you have like Northern Lion, which has been streaming it nonstop. Like he's been streaming it once every single day for a while, and he's a huge one. Vine Sauce has been doing stuff with it too. So like you've got every like corner of gaming content creators are talking about this game. Of course, everybody's going to be playing it.
Who the hell is Vine Sauce?
You know Vine Sauce? He's been around for a while.
Not familiar.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I go to browse.
At least know who Northern Lion is, right?
Not really.
Oh, okay. He got really big playing like The Binding of Isaac back in the day, where he would just like play that over and over. He was always kind of like a variety guy, but like he really played The Binding of Isaac, and then he transitioned more into doing like a bunch of different games. Started with other roguelikes, started getting into variety stuff, multiplayer stuff. He has a big show once a week that called like the Northern Lion Super Show, but then he also does stuff daily.
Cool. Yeah, I'm just looking at the Steam top categories. League of Legends is number 1.
How the heck is League of Legends number 1 category on Steam? Is there even like a version of League of Legends on Steam, or is this just a bunch of people who have League downloaded and then they're running it through Steam?
I'm sorry, on Twitch.
Oh, on Twitch. Okay, you said Steam. That's why I was confused.
I'm saying Twitch.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, Twitch makes sense.
No,
yeah,
I'm
obviously
looking-
League is going to be top on Twitch. It pretty much always is.
Yeah, by far.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's more than double the second one, which is Counter-Strike 2. But let's see, 12, 14, 15, 16, 17. Musume.
Mm-hmm.
Uma Musume, whatever. Number
Uma
17
Musume.
was 25.
You just
Yeah,
call it
almost
pretty
26,000.
derby. Pretty derby's an
Yeah.
easy thing to call it. Yeah.
It's up there.
Yeah. Oh, Fitzgerald had a question, which I don't even know how to answer this, or where to even begin. But I feel like talking about it anyway, for a brief second, because it has to do with the subject. He said, "Hey, is there something we could do with these AI cetacean translators?" I didn't. What do you mean? Like, what is an AI cetacean translator? How would AI even translate sounds that came from a cetacean?
Yeah, is that like whales?
Well, cetaceans, grander category. Horses are technically in that category.
Oh.
But yes, whales are in that category. It's probably not for horses. It's probably for whales. Probably wouldn't be for hippos either, which are also cetaceans.
Mm-hmm.
I guess like whales have language. Did like they just feed a bunch of whale sounds into it, or for dolphins? Oh, we have it specifically for dolphins. Okay. Did they just feed a bunch of dolphin sounds into it, and then the AI kind of figured out the patterns and are translating it? Like, how can you be sure exactly what it means? Like, I'm sure the AI knows the patterns, but how can you be sure what it's telling you is what it means?
Is it a large language model just trained on whale song?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. My problem more is just knowing, right? Like, there's no reason to think that their patterns would match onto ours, language-wise, right?
Yeah. You have just completely foreign, undiscernible kind of thoughts that we couldn't really comprehend.
Yeah, like I've seen people try to say things like, "Oh, don't you know killer whales are doing like complex calculus and stuff?" It's like, no, they're not. Like they're doing things that would involve complex calculus, but they're mostly doing it intuitively, and they're not even doing it mostly through language, right? It's like bats aren't doing calculus when they're doing echolocation or anything like that. Because calculus involves actually using numbers and formulas and stuff. That's not what they're doing.
Yeah, it's kind of stuff that they just intuitively can figure out that we need calculus to do, right?
Yeah. And there's a lot of stuff that, like, even if they're kind of in the same ballpark, yes, I know they have language. What you're missing is me saying, how would we assume that their language maps onto how we use language? Maybe it does, but we can't just assume that. There are a lot of things that have language. Crows have language. Crows can even pick up sounds from our language, and they kind of know what it means, but we can't assume that the bird call that they're using to talk to each other maps onto even the sounds that they're picking up from us, right? Maybe it can, maybe it can't. We can't even assume that our AI can put those two things together. That's another maybe it can, maybe it can't. I think they're jumping to a lot of conclusions before we even have evidence of anything, right? But like what I was talking about, like there are certain like things of math that we do that you could probably try to say are in the same ballpark. Like you could say we do some type of spatial geometry when we do a lot of intuitive things, but we're not actually doing spatial geometry, right? There's an intuitive level of math that's not particularly precise, but we can feel it. That's probably what other animals are doing, right? Like when you shoot a basketball, right? There's like this intuitive level of math where you kind of judge the distance and you judge the loft that you have to put into it, and you judge like maybe the wind is blowing, but you're not actually doing precise math. That's kind of what I'm getting at there.
So there is this is according to Grok, actually, Grok 4.
Yeah.
Super Grok, as they call it now. There is an AI called Dolphin Gemma that is studying dolphin communication, vocalizations.
Yeah. And like I said,
Trying to-
I think
trying to
if you feed it into the model, I think the AI can totally pick up the patterns and probably even feed the patterns back out and probably even kind of tell you what the patterns are related to. But I don't think you'll ever be able to. You'd have to localize it. I think the best you could probably do with dolphin or whale language is to localize it. Right? And be like, we don't know like, we can't put it into exact words, but this is generally the thing that's being talked about here.
It says researchers aim to use it for interactive systems like the chat, Cetacean Human Acoustic Translator Project, where humans and dolphins could exchange mimics or signals. That's funny.
Yeah.
And there are 3 other AI efforts to communicate with dolphins.
And maybe we'll find out when it's done. Maybe it does map on perfectly, but there's a lot of, I say perfectly, nothing can map on perfectly because even between different human languages, no language really maps on perfectly to each other. There's always like subtle differences between them. But like maybe we will find out that their language has more in common with how we use language than we thought or even could begin to know. But there has to be a lot of actual proof to that. You can't just like feed it into a machine and then have the machine feed something out. You're going to have to actually, almost like a mathematic proof, where you're going to have to like do a long study of it and find like consistently we can get the exact same result out by doing this over and over again.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like, it seems like it's kind of analyzing the acoustic data. It's not, and coming up with certain rules, but like it's basically pattern recognition and not like semantic translation. Like it's not going to say, whistle, whistle, click, hi there, how are you? I would like a fish now. It's like it doesn't translate into language. So it just has some general meanings that aren't really.
And it would be pretty hard
really
anyway, right? Like if their language probably does have specific meanings. Like, I'm not going to say it doesn't. We know for a fact that like dolphins have names for each other. That they like a mother dolphin has a name for its child that you'll consistently hear the same sound when she's calling out to it. But I don't even think you could write it in a normal form. Like their way of doing language is almost musical, I guess would be the closest. You'd have to do like sheet music would be the only way that you could actually notate dolphin sounds.
Yeah. It's even more obscure than that episode of Star Trek where they ran into the race that spoke in metaphors.
Yeah.
They're like, there's no way we could understand this unless we knew their entire history, and
Oh man,
what the metaphor is referring.
I got some news for you. That's how we speak.
I suppose, but they refer to a story, but if you don't know the story, you have no idea what they're trying to say. But I guess in some cases we do too.
Yeah, I mean that's like one of the problems with idioms. Anytime you're learning any language, you actually have to learn the culture so that you can understand like what idioms mean. Because like for a lot of languages, half of what you say are idioms.
Yeah.
Right? Like an alien comes down and you use the idiom like it's just like riding a bike. Well, now they have to understand what like a bike is and also why that makes sense. Like the fact that you can learn to ride a bike when you're young and you're probably never going to forget it because of the mechanical muscle memory that you developed into your system, right? Like There's a lot of background knowledge to even basic things we say every single day.
Yeah.
Now, it's still less so than the metaphor people, but that is kind of almost how our language works.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if it just says dolphins and whales have language.
Yeah. Yeah, I addressed that.
I mean, it depends on... Yeah. I guess it kind of depends on what your definition is.
Yeah, I think they definitely do, because they definitely have calls that have specific meanings. And you can pick it out. It's just hard to know how to map those meanings. Other than, like I said, there are some that are definitely referring to a specific person. Now, I'm calling it a name because that's the easiest thing to call it. It could be some type of familial specific pronoun for all we know, right? Like for all we know, they have a specific pitch and whistle for my first male child or something. And that is like the equivalent of a name. In fact, actually, some familial names in Rome were like that, right? Like Gaius is like the first male child. But we don't know what it means or how it exactly maps. We just know that that call is referring to that specific individual.
Right.
It's very complex
Speaking
stuff.
of Rock 4, it's yeah. I wonder how good this is, because I'll tell you, in my programming job, I use ChatGPT almost every day, and it's I actually found out recently that we have a company policy about AI, and that we can use it to ask specific questions, how to solve specific problems, but basically can't use it to like write whole sections of code, and like definitely can't put our code into it and like ask it to refine it or find the problem or whatever, because I don't know, my company has an idea about IP, and if we copy and paste our code into it, is it gonna then train itself on our code? But
also, I said something a little backwards. Horses aren't cetaceans. It's cetaceans are horses. Technically, they're all part of Hippomorpha. Just to be more accurate on that.
I think you were looking for a connection between what our conversation was and what Fischoso said or asked.
Yeah, and my brain put the connection in there because horses and whales are directly related to each other.
Yeah, I'm not sure that the connection was really there.
No,
I think
it was
just a
technically.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it was there for me. Maybe it wasn't for him, but yeah. But Hippomorpha is the order that they're all in.
Yeah.
And like horses are in, which is Equidae. All the relatives of horses are in there, and also cetaceans are in there.
Oh, okay. Sorry, Fischoso. You're just a master.
No, he says it was there for me as well. Yeah, okay. I thought it was. Like, my brain was connected. I thought it was there.
Yeah. I was just
I reversed the order of something, but like I remembered it.
Yeah. Okay, so it was related. Never mind.
Yeah.
But I've been hearing interesting things about Rock 4, and that it's good at, like physics and stuff like that, presumably programming. So I'm gonna have to use
I
it
saw
over the
Musk
next
advertising that specifically. Like you could just put your source code or whatever in there, and it actually turns out better than some of its competitors do.
Mm-hmm.
But of course he would say that, right? Like that's not to say it's true. It's his job to say it's better than the competitors.
Of course, yeah. We shall see. We'll see if it can translate, whale song, what it's doing.
Yeah. Anyway, we're at the end of the show, which we were already getting towards the end. That's why I needed to sneak that correction in there, because I was somewhat right, but I was also completely wrong because I was using the words in the wrong direction. And I don't like being wrong, so I'd rather correct it. Anyway, thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed the show. if you did, please go share it out with somebody else. Get more people in here. Make sure you're following wherever you're at so that you don't miss the next one. Because sometimes we don't do it on our normal schedule. We're on Friday today instead of Thursday. Go follow us, maybe even on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it these days, /Vomitorium. Any place, you'll get updates. In our Discord, I'll let you know when we're live. And I haven't streamed Star Rail in a while. I'm going to stream it pretty soon. Maybe tomorrow. Because the Fate collab happened. That's other gaming news. And I'll skip. Like, we could go back to wherever we were in the story. I want to play through the Fate collab on stream. So we're going to do that pretty soon. Keep in touch for that. And we'll see you guys later.
See ya.